Welcome to the November 14th meeting of the Rotary Club of Jamestown. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, singing our national anthem, and repeating the four-way test. Let's repeat the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all
Will it
concerned?
build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build goodwill, better
Will
friendship?
it be beneficial to all concerned?
Is it beneficial to all?
Our invocation today is by Vince Horgan.
Thanks, John. Bow your heads, please. Dear Lord, being in Rotary allows us to serve others. We ask that you help us remember always the four-way test which we just recited as we work today and every day throughout our community and throughout our world. Help us to serve humbly and willingly as we focus on the needs of others. And thank you for our gifts, for our fellow Rotarians, for our fellowship. Help us to be wise in how we become Rotarians. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Vince. Please welcome President-elect Ruth Lundeen to announce our visiting Rotarians and guests.
Yes, so we're very happy today to have George Harper from RTPI visiting us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruth. Announcements. A Rotarially Yours recorder today is Walt Pickett. Many thanks to all you do in the Communications Committee. Literacy Zoom meeting is Thursday. Literacy Zoom meeting Thursday. Everybody should have the invite for that. No noon meeting next week. We're doing a social event. We've had a pretty good run of in-person meetings, so we're just switching up week of Thanksgiving. So that will be at Steiner's Pub from 4:30 to 6:30. Michelle sent out an invitation. There's also an invitation at the desk with Lisa. So no noon meeting next week, social event. Then after that, we're back in here November 28th for a regular scheduled noon meeting. Then December 5th, we're going to be at First Lutheran Church for the Jamestown a cappella choir performance. That will begin at 11:15. Well, lunch will be at 11:15. The performance will be noon. So that's, we had a sign up sheet here. We'll have one for our next at the 28th, and we can get out online sign up as well. And then after that will be December 12th, which will be our annual meeting. So mark that on your calendars as we need a quorum to hold some elections and votes. And then after that, December 19th will be our Christmas holiday party at a location to be determined. So we got a busy stretch coming up. Any additional announcements from committee chairs?
Hi, everyone. It's been a while since I've been present other than on Zoom. It's that time of year again for the Red Kettle campaign, and I'm happy to be sharing that again with a coworker or co-Rotarian, Mark, wherever, or Bob. Hi, Bob. Bob Anderson. We have 2 dates set aside as of right now, and then if you find that you have availability on other dates, give me a call and we'll see if we can sign you up on different days. Right now, we're at the Tops on Washington on December 6th, which is a Tuesday, from 10 in the morning until 8 in the evening. And also on December 13th, the following Tuesday. Bob's going to be putting the schedule on the website and sending out invitations for people to sign up. And as those things come together, we'll make adjustments where we have to. And we'll add more locations. This is going to cover 20 hours right now. My goal is to cover at least 50. Thank you.
Thank you. Red Kettle, always a good thing to get out and ring the bells. Please get your tickets ready as we welcome Vicki McGraw with today's 50-50.
John, I have a youth exchange announcement. If you can hear me. $4942. $45 of the winner. 4942. Oh, okay. Melissa, congratulations. Sherry, go ahead. You have an announcement? Yeah, I do have an announcement. So unfortunately, we've had to cancel the youth exchange interviews that were scheduled for this week because we don't have any
Hey, Sherry, we
applications.
can't hear you.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I'm not sure. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Still can't
Okay,
hear
I
you,
think
Sherry.
the people in the meeting can
We
hear
can
me.
hear you online. Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
helpful.
And I see you. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Try again. No, she's still talking.
Can you hear me now?
Sarah, I think we have a communication issue. So,
All right.
Doug, please give a hand for our Sergeant at Arms, Doug Conroe.
Okay, thank you. And Sherry, chime in whenever you can, if you can, please.
Can you hear me, Doug?
Well, today
Nope.
is a good day. Not 6 inches of snow yet. And Jim is very appreciative of the good things that are being done and added to us. And Joelle, thank you for a generous donation. Not been able to attend in person for a bit, but she's here today. Oh, not a lot going on in the newspaper. Oh. We have any Striders people here or Community Foundation people here? I'm not seeing who I thought I might see, but that's in the paper today about a grant. Bummer. Okay, well, maybe another day. Walt, what can you tell me about the 11th hour of the 11th day and the year in which that occurred? Probably not the year that was published in your paper. Okay. Oops. Yeah, I know that's a computer fills in things that we type something, but the computer says something totally different. Yes. Yep. Plus or minus. David. Okay. Stacy. In the Rotarian magazine, they have mention of hundreds of programs, but all the main programs of Rotary.
Which program did Rotarian magazine last month say who were the best ambassadors for Rotary? I see some heads shaking, which means they're all reaching into purses and wallets. Yeah. Rotarians are the best ambassadors for Rotary. Whoa, simple answer, but that's what it is, you know. It's up to us to make this club successful, serve our community, to get the word out. And Rotary Magazine reminded us of that. So might we have any alumna here from Randolph that was Class D, Section 6 football champs, and Jamestown High School that was Class A, Section 6 champs? How about if we do, how about those alum putting in to celebrate that? Okay, she will do that. Okay. Not you. Okay, we're in a row. Good pictures in the beautiful pictures in the magazine. I made myself a note here to get on my kick about acapellas coming up. You know, that's a time to invite guests, to invite our neighboring clubs. It's a big church, plenty of room in those pews. Let's give acapella a great image of Rotary. And so let's everyone bring a guest, maybe 2 guests, maybe 3. I know I'm bringing 2 anyway. And that takes us on to football as we're starting to wind down. Although Michigan keeps on a roll, doesn't it, Lee? Clemson, I don't see Steve. Denison, Worcester, Cincinnati. Ohio State. Yeah, that's the right one in Ohio, isn't it, Mike? Although the other state, Penn State, came through last weekend, John. Notre Dame, Mike Boots, are you online? John Carroll, Muhlenberg, Dan Overcash, are you online? Anybody from Alfred State here? Brockport, Grove City, might have a Grove City person in the room. Carnegie Mellon, and I suspect we have a Mount Union person in the room. Yes, so that's how football is winding down, but there we go. And you owe me one. Okay, how about some happy bucks?
I got it. I'll have to put in another IOU, but just want to congratulate Andy Goodell on his victory. And thanks for all you do for us in the state. So
I see Doug's hurting a little bit and he does have a quota. So I'm going to help him with $20. $1 for Ohio State. They're okay. They're not bad. $9 for the Red Kettle. So do we know what the Red Kettle does? The Red Kettle raises $115,000, every dime of which goes downstairs to where they do the food distribution. So please understand how important it is for the Salvation Army to meet their ministry goals during our Red Kettle campaign. They're a little over 50% that they have to hire for a kettle. So if you belong to a church, maybe you can organize a group like we do at Rotary and have since the day I started. I can remember Hill's department store was pretty cold a few times. And my last happy buck is for a great friend of the United Way, and that is Fancher Chair. We started doing a campaign there maybe six or 8 years ago. And it's living proof that if a lot of us put in a little bit of what can happen for us. And Gary and the entire team down there, Pete, have let us come in and they've organized a break time with some coffee and donuts, and the results are amazing. And if we don't have a campaign at your office, please let us know, and I'll be happy to stop by. And we can do a couple of minute talk on the United Way and the effects of what we do with 1.3 million. So thank you.
I just wanted to try and make Sherry's announcement for her. We did not have any applicants for the exchange program by our deadline. So we have extended the deadline to November 30th. So please, if you know any students who might want to go on exchange, we will be talking to the kids at JCC tomorrow. But if you know any students who you think would be good on exchange, please encourage them to get with Sherry or probably anyone else on the exchange committee. And we've extended that to November 30th. So please, let's find some exchange students.
Please don't take any offense, Doug. But every time I looked in the paper last week, I saw Dan Hetzenreiter in there for so many different things. And I thought I should just contribute for him.
How many of you are on Facebook or have a spouse on Facebook? Okay. Listen to this name. Sarah Waltonez. Sarah Wallstrom was one of our Rotarian scholarship winners many years ago. I shouldn't say that because she could be my daughter. But she has her doctorate in veterinary medicine, specializing in sea creatures. And she and her husband have traveled all of Australia, all the way around for the last 8 months. And you can follow her and their activities on Facebook. It is absolutely, it's better than any Rotary travelogue you could ever imagine. But the important thing is, next year, the Rotary Worldwide Conference is in Australia. And honestly, her pictures and her stories and their travels would really make you want to go there. So look up Sarah Waltonez and identify yourself. Ask to be a friend, identify yourself as a Jamestown Rotarian, and she will accept you immediately. It is absolutely fascinating, and we were part of what she is today. Thank you. Oh, Sarah Wallstrom married a Spanish man. I'm forgetting his first name now, Martinez, and they combined their names to Sarah Waltonez. There you go.
I've got a few bucks there. I guess I was in the paper and also missed a couple weeks. We were taking a short vacation down to Florida where I found the most magical chamber of commerce on earth while visiting Disney with our daughter. But also a happy buck because someone reminded me next week is Thanksgiving, which means next Saturday is Small Business Saturday. So please make a plan now, loop in your family, friends, go out, have a great experience shopping local, go shopping, grab some lunch, whatever it is you want to do. But we have a lot of great places all throughout Chautauqua County. So make sure you check them out next week. Thanks.
Hi, this is my sayonara meeting for this time of the year. So I'll be leaving for the season and headed to Thailand with my wife. I will be back probably for a week in March, but this is probably the last time I'll see you around. So have a nice winter. I just wanted to say that this is a really great club, and I hope you all know that. I was going to say how nice it is that you all take time out of your schedules to come here. But then I thought, really, what it is it's nice that you put this in your schedule. And this is part of your schedule, and you come here because the group here, we have a little time to talk before lunch, not a lot, but what we're really doing when we're talking with each other is saying how much we care about each other. I mean, the subjects come and go, but just to be sitting next to someone that you don't see very often or not often enough, and you pay attention to them. And Doug said something about Rotary clubs and what we're doing, and it's up to, he said, well, it's kind of up to us and up to us as a group. And it really is. We do great things. We spend a lot of good times together and we do a lot of great things for the community. And I won't see you for the winter, but I just want you to know that I'll be thinking about you. And I do care about all of you. And I think you all care about each other. So that's just a nice part of our lives. Yeah, I'll zoom in, but it's midnight there and I might fall asleep. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for those nice words. I am very thankful that I will be gainfully employed for the next couple of years. And it is a little bit of a mixed blessing because normally I'm in Albany on Mondays, but I always wear my Rotary pin on the floor of the assembly to remind them and myself of the four-way test. So thank you very much. And thank you, John. And Randy Sweeney put in $1 too. I think it's because I won, not because I'll be missing so many meetings coming up. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, John.
Thank you. It's great to be here in this room with you people. Enjoy it very much and appreciate it very much. It gets me away from some of the other items that I sit and watch. And those people are arguing and fighting and arguing and fighting and hating each other to get either into Albany or get into the Capitol or to get into someplace else. Some other people are arguing and fighting because they want to score more touchdowns than the other team scored. They want to argue now because they want to argue back and forth and say, well, who's going to pick up that ball player for next year so they can beat the other team for next year. But I wish that they all would remember and never forget of the one wonderful blessing and one of the wonderful things that we have. Rotary is one of them, but which tops them, Rotary and everything else is the fact that all of us in this room, all of us on this planet, and all of us probably on some planet someplace else, we are God's children.
Thank you, everybody, and good to see so many happy bucks. It is my pleasure to welcome Courtney Cortolo from the Program Committee to introduce our speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. Gary Henry Sr. is a native of the area and graduated with an associate's degree from Jamestown Community College. He also attended Syracuse for some wood courses. He started as the office manager for Sterlingworth in 1968, later becoming the plant manager. When Fancher purchased Sterling in 1975, Gary ran the operations for them. He remained the general manager until 1986, when he became the cost and accounting manager. He founded Fancher in 1992 for Crawford Manufacturing and ran the company until 2010, where he still works part-time, and his son now owns the company. So welcome, Gary.
Good afternoon. It is really a privilege for me to be here for a couple of reasons. One is just to enjoy the climate of Rotary. And another is to just express how deeply I enjoy and appreciate the work and the efforts that Rotary puts in the community. I've been involved with Rotary in the past in the Westfield area. And it's just nice to be here and to meet you, and a privilege to have the opportunity to come and to speak to you today. I was reading the other day where Travago, you're familiar with Travago if you want to travel? Well, in July, they said Jamestown's a great place to visit, a nice sleepy town that used to be the furniture capital of the world. I don't know if it really was the furniture capital of the world, but certainly it was of this area, along with Grand Rapids and many other places. Fancher has been around for 215 years, beginning in 1807. As a matter of fact, it was just recently, and I bet I didn't hit the right button. I'm sorry. Yeah, I did. Okay. It just doesn't want to, it just doesn't appreciate me. Of course, it's electronics, so that explains it all. But just a few months ago, we received the award from New York State as to being one of the historic manufacturers in the area. We're very thankful for that and the opportunity of representing the Jamestown area with that opportunity of being recognized for 215 years. When we had our 200th celebration back in 2007, it came up to somebody that made the comment, I had been there the whole time. I have not been there the whole time. I have been there as long as we've been making chairs, but not all the 200 years. When we purchased Fancher chair, the Erickson family in 1975, it was called American Manufacturing Concern, which had been here for a long time. And it was literally on the verge of extinction. There was only about 20 people there. Its debt load was heavy, and its opportunity of producing product was very small. As a matter of fact, we were making basically occasional tables for a company called Krebs Stengels out of New York City. With my accounting background, it didn't take me long to figure out that every time we made a table, put it in a box and shipped it for them, we shipped along with them $5 of our money. And when I called them in New York City and said, we're going to have to make a little change in the price, they said, oh, it could never happen. We couldn't do that. I said, well, then we can no longer make occasional tables. And they said, well, you can't do that. I said, why is that? And they said, well, you'd go out of business. You wouldn't have any customers. I said, well, we'd be making more money. And so we quit doing business with Krebs Stengel. We went with Pennsylvania House, if you're familiar with them, down in Lewisburg. At the time, a large manufacturer. We did a lot of occasional tables, hutches, some buffets, some secretaries, things of that nature that we did for quite a little while with them. And recently, it turns out that Pennsylvania House no longer exists. They were purchased a few years back, and then they were taken overseas. And after that, they were purchased, what remnants they had, by Universal, and in about 2005, they became non-existent. To remain the same in the furniture business is to become non-existent. We have a map in the office that shows about 25 plants in Jamestown. And Fancher's is one of the only ones remaining at the time. And it's because we've been willing to make changes. You can be very popular, you can be very influential, you can make fine furniture, and you can also disappear quickly. John Whitcomb was recognized as one of the finest manufacturers of furniture in the Grand Rapids area. I toured that with Len Erickson when he was the owner of Fancher Chair. And we toured that facility and we made some furniture for them. And in 2002, they closed and Stickley took what assets they had and they're gone. The point in all of this can maybe be best illustrated by a story. I see we have a lot of ladies here, so I want you to just remember this as a story, okay? I call it my pig story. Maybe you're familiar with that story, but it's one that I enjoy. And if I'm talking about woodworking, I often use it. It's the story of a salesman. He was one of these traveling salesmen. He's going around from place to place. He pulls into this farmyard. He wants to sell them some life insurance. And so he goes to knock on the door, and he knocks on the door to see if the farmer is at home. And he notices on the front porch something very strange. There sits a pig with a wooden leg. He'd never seen a pig with a wooden leg before. The farmer came to the door and he went in and he started talking about insurance, trying to sell him insurance. After a while and about time to leave, the conversation was over. He was getting up and he said, "Oh, by the way, I have to ask you a question. What about that pig on the porch with the wooden leg?" The farmer said, "That is an unbelievable pig. He is the greatest friend this family has ever had." He said, one time, he says, we had some coyotes and come into the area and they were after the farm animals and the pig alerted us. He said just a few months ago, all of a sudden that pig ran into the house, busted in the front door, climbed up the stairs, went right to our room, began squealing like terrible, and I got up to realize the house was on fire. He said, we got all the kids out, nobody was hurt. It's all thanks to that pig. Well, the guy said, that is fantastic. It's wonderful. But it still doesn't quite explain the wooden leg. The farmer got this look on his face and he said to them, "You don't need a friend like that all at once." To stay the same in the wood business is to be the pig. So many of the people that we have done business with just slowly have left because they were eaten away piece by piece. By the grace of God, we're still here, and only because we have diversified. The Erickson family, as I said, that owned a Fancher chair and took it over in 1975 when I came on board from Jamestown, Sterling, brought the company back from the brink. And it was in 1978 we decided it was time to make chairs. We began making chairs for Crawford, a company called Hardin, and we did some for Ethan Allen when they were locally in the area in Mayville and Frewsburg and Corey. And we decided that was the way we had to go. Almost 100% of what we did were residential chairs. Today, about 10% of what we do is residential chairs, mostly commercial chairs and banks and colleges, nursing homes, some individual that would have things to be done, and all kinds. And maybe I can show you a few pictures. Did I turn the mic off? No, I just probably not speaking into it very well. I'm not. Okay, all right. So just to give, oops, I'm going the wrong way. Here we go. I'm sorry, this one's outside. I got a picture of it and I wanted you to see the whole chair and to see it's gold. And you can see those chairs if you happen to see a presidential dinner or if you see a meeting at the White House. Those are White House chairs. We've produced them for President Obama, for President Bush. Some were made during the time of President Trump, and I would imagine that we'll get the call one of these days from the Biden administration to make some more. When they start to fail, we would make usually anywhere from 100 to 200 of them. We take them to Washington. And when they get there, we are secretly taken to a warehouse. There they are unloaded. As they unload one chair, the gentleman will take one chair out of inventory and smash it and put it in the garbage. And that's how they operate in Washington. The next chair is one that we made for the Sonoma Music Center. It's a chair that has a seat, like a theater seat, that will go up and down, except there is no mechanism. It had to be silent. It was all made with wood. The seat will go up when a person stands up, and then it can come back down when they sit down, but it does so silently. So at the music center, when several thousand people rise or sit, there is no noise. Another chairs that we have done and benches and tables was for the Baja Temple, which is in Chile. They make one temple in every different continent. And we made all of the interior furniture for them. And just about 2 weeks ago, I quoted for the newest temple that's about to be built. It'll be about 4 or 5 years before it gets underway, but already we have quoted for the chairs to hopefully build all of them for them as well. Those, some of you might remember, those are the Chautauqua benches. Chautauqua called us a few years ago and said, we have a problem. We purchased benches from the Midwest and they're not going to be here. And the ones that have come in from them fell apart. We've got to do something. It's May and June is coming. We made for them temporary benches, 3,880 linear feet of benches. We made them, we finished them, and we installed them for them in 28 days. The following year, we made permanent benches and installed them as well. One of the newest projects we're looking at right now is what I call the hammock chair. It's not a very good picture because it's just from a drawing and a sample that was made, but you notice the wooden arches that come up on both sides. They're about 5 inches wide, about 4 inches thick, and they bend the curve to come up to make the hammock chair, which will then swivel. And this was one of the winners of Shark Tank. And they've gotten their finances from the folks at Shark Tank. And they were told by somebody in the industry, there's only one place you can go if you want to get that made. And that's Fancher chair. We have no salesmen. We have no sales staff. We have no advertising. Everything is by word of mouth. And unfortunately, we have to turn away a lot of different businesses because we just do not have the capacity. We have reached really the level where we're at, and because of the workforce, because of a lot of other things, it's very difficult for us to expand beyond that point at the present time. My son became the owner in 2010, and since that time, we have purchased 10 CNC machines to try to alleviate some of the problem, and now we can literally make just about anything that anybody requires for us to make. Whatever it might be, we hopefully have the expertise and some of the wonderful people in this area that enable us to make all of these particular products. This is one that we do for a company called Barnhart, and we do a second one for them if you get an idea how stylish they are. And I'm showing you these for a reason, and that's because we received some requests this year to make corner blocks. If you're not familiar with corner blocks, I brought one. I brought a large one. They're usually about half this size. They go in the corners of each chair, front and side rail and back rail, to make it more stable. You put a couple holes in the top, a couple in the bottom, one in the middle. And a good corner block probably might cost you $1. And we were asked to make them. And we said, look, we have a limited capacity. We just can't make corner blocks. We make chairs like the Bernhardt chair. More and more customers kept calling us because the only manufacturer east of the Mississippi who is making corner blocks during COVID closed up. And all of these different companies needed somebody to make corner blocks. My son said, we just can't make corner blocks. One day he received a call from the president of Kimball Manufacturing, one of the largest manufacturers of wood furniture in the United States. He said, I'd like you to make corner blocks. My son said, well, I have great respect. We'd love to make furniture for you. We've wanted to in the past, but we've never been able, but I don't know about making corner blocks. He said, you have no choice. You have to make corner blocks. We have to have them. And everybody tells us you can make them. And so my son, who has this major problem of saying no, said, okay, we'll make corner blocks. And so we began to make corner blocks, and we're making them for Kimball. And, as I said, $1 would be plenty. Some cases it's 38 cents for a corner block. But Kimball, out of the grace of their heart, felt sorry enough that I think they thought, well, they ought to give them at least one chair to make so that maybe, they won't feel so bad. So they gave us a chair. and we made it and we priced it and we sent it to them. And they thought it was so good. In the last 6 months, they've given us $250,000 worth of merchandise. Why? Because we were willing to make corner blocks, which nobody else would make. That's what Fancher is all about to me and to all of us. And that is doing what's needed in our industry to stay alive, to stay in business. Let me just close with 4 keys to business that I'd like to just share with you today very quickly. My time's probably already up. Number 1, innovation. If you want to stay alive, and I don't care if it's in the furniture business or anything else, it takes innovation. I mentioned our CNC machines. We just took 101 Water Street, which was a carving manufacturer that was closing that we bought, and we have gutted the place and we have turned it into an upholstery factory. And we will be doing increasing volume of upholstery in this area and for all of our customers to produce a major upholstery plant in this area. When it comes to safety, our workers are critically important, and we do everything we can to make it the safest environment possible. One of the things that was the most dangerous in woodworking when I started was a table saw. You knew you had a good woodworker when they came and applied for a job if they only had 4 fingers. Yes, that's because how table saws operated. We now use completely 100% saw stops. We've had them in there for about 5 years without an injury. Let me just say, I should correct that. We did have 1 injury. One fellow did come upstairs. He had what I would consider maybe a paper cut, and we stuck a Band-Aid on it. This is from sticking his finger into the saw blade while it was running. That's what a saw stop does. It prevents finger loss, major industries. That's important to us. Environmental, that's today's world. You have to be environmentally sound. We produce furniture that will meet all of the standards. Matter of fact, we just got done getting accredited from Europe to be able to sell product in Europe, meeting all of their environmental standards, which are very difficult in many cases to meet. We have FSC lumber. We have been certified as energy sufficient and work with the local BPU and others that are involved to help make all of that happen. And last of all, we have a strong workforce. But more than anything else, the one thing that keeps us here is that we feel we have a responsibility to this community and the people of this community to give an opportunity for people to work. Thank you for having me here today.
Anybody have questions?
I thought the story you were telling was the one that I was told one time when I was working, and they had to be careful about a saw on your fingers. And one of the guys cut his finger off on the saw. And the boss come along and said, "How the heck did you do that? What's the matter? All of that stuff there." He says, "Well," he said, turned the saw on, I took the board and took it in my hand, and I just went like that. Oh my God, I cut the other finger off. So you got to be careful. But importantly, how do I find out when I'm sitting down or when I see one, how do I find out it's one of your chairs? Is there a marking on the bottom? Is there a marking any place where I can see that it's one of your chairs?
Well, I'll answer your question with 2 things. Number 1, that story you heard is absolutely true because I was there when that event happened at Jamestown, Sterling. And number 2, you cannot tell a Fancher chair. We do not label any of our chairs. We make absolutely no chairs for ourselves. We make for Knoll, for Kimball, for Herman Miller, for Ethan Allen, for Stickley, you name it. We make chairs for them. They're their chair. We manufacture them. We are totally invisible to the public, and we are the first group that people call when they want chairs made. Thank you. Yes.
I would like to understand. I'd like to understand why no one would make the corner blocks? Why there wasn't anyone that would do that?
The two things. One is having a good lumber supply that's very cheap. And when COVID came in, lumber skyrocketed. In some cases, lumber more than doubled. And to find a very cheap source was very difficult for anybody to have. Number two, there's just no money in corner blocks. By the time you buy a piece of wood and you cut that and cut the corners on it, you bore it 5 times or have a machine that does that, and you sell it for 38 cents. There is just, you cannot make enough corner blocks to keep a factory going. If that was all we did, we just couldn't do it. But we've designated a separate department now, and we do that, and we really do it as a favor. It's not profitable. We probably make about 60,000 chairs a year. And it's not just chairs, but there's some occasional, some tables, some other things like that. The number is actually going down all the time. And the reason for that is because the chairs are becoming more expensive and more ornate and more of a challenge than when we used to make like a Crawford or an Ethan Allen chair.
I was just looking at your chairs and furniture, even in this room, it's like everything is wood. And that's not always the case. But there's an awful lot of wood that goes into furniture and chairs, and I see that that's what you do. Do you make any chairs or furnishings out of other substances besides wood?
We don't make anything that doesn't have wood in it. We do some vanities, and we do some chests, and we do some chairs that have metal bases, or they might have a metal top and a wood base. And what we'll do is purchase the metal parts that the customer wants, and then make the wood and finish it, and then unite the two together and pack them and ship them in that respect. So we are doing some metal working in that respect, but it's all stuff we would purchase.
Gary, Chris here.
Yes.
I might have missed this, but where do you source all your lumber from? Or do you source it from different areas?
In different areas. An awful lot of it comes right locally. We are using walnut, which is all local, red oak, which is local, cherry and maple and ash. And while it lasts, it's interesting because years ago, nobody would even consider having ash furniture. Nowadays, it's very popular. Nowadays, when all the ash is dying, and 80% of the woods contain dead ash. So it's not going to last, but there's a lot of it. But we also buy a lot of European beech, which is very different than American beech, and we import it in from Europe. Since COVID, though, it's been increasingly difficult and much more costly. To get a container from Germany, we'll give somebody $10,000 just to consider loading it on a truck for us, or on a ship for us, not to say anything about the wood or the normal cost. Not so much anymore, because we no longer make residential. Like I said, if we continued with the residential, we'd be out of business, because nobody can match the prices of China, Vietnam, and Laos and Thailand. It can't be done. We do a lot of some residential now for Ethan Allen, and it's only because of COVID we do that, because they cannot get it from offshore. And their business is less. And so instead of ordering 25 or 3,000 at a time, they can come to us and buy 200 or 300 at a time, and it helps their finances. And so we're making some stuff for them. But other than that, we really have no offshore competitor. Maybe Italy in a few cases, but that's all.
I'm a long time volunteer back to the early 1980s, and the country capers, the Jamestown General Hospital Fair, Take a Seat auction, Fancher chair was #1 always. And even though we couldn't get 6 chairs, people would come year after year to see what your chair donation was to complement the one they bought the year before. I thank you on behalf of this community because I swear everybody in this town has a Fancher chair in their home.
We love to donate, and it's a pleasure of ours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary, for that interesting and enjoyable presentation. One of Rotary's major international programs is to eradicate polio in the world. In honor and thanks for your presentation to our Rotary Club today, we will make a donation in your name that we will vaccinate 4 children who will never experience polio in their life. Remember, no noon meeting next week. Steiner's Pub, sign up if you want to come there. So if I don't see you, have a good Thanksgiving, and we are adjourned.